EVA HARTLEY'S VORTEX. How to enter the state of receiving. When you let go of resistance, the miracle finds you. And for a long time, I didn't understand the weight of that phrase. I thought receiving was an art of deserving, when in fact, it was a science of surrender. There is a field where effort dissolves and everything begins to flow. That is the vortex. Breathe. Release your shoulders. Feel the air coming in and going out. Allow yourself to be here. I become receptive. I become a channel. I enter the vortex. There was a time when I believed that manifesting was about fighting, waking up earlier, forcing positive thoughts, affirming without fear of doubt. But the more I tried to control the flow, the further away everything seemed to get, until I realized the universe wasn't testing me. It was just waiting for me to stop resisting. It was then that I met Eva Hartley, a woman whose energy seemed to live on another plane. She didn't talk about effort, she talked about frequency, and her phrase echoed, "The vortex is not a place to enter. It is a state to remember." At that moment, I understood that the vortex is not the future we seek, but the now we have forgotten to inhabit. Eva showed me that every desire is already a decree answered the moment it is felt. The problem is never the request. It's the vibration that blocks it. The vortex is that point of coherence where the mind stops doubting and the heart takes command again. And when the mind becomes still, something divine begins to move. The vortex is not forced. It is perceived. It is when you stop trying to create and begin to allow to be created. I remember the day I first experienced this. I simply stopped. I stopped asking and just breathed. In that silence, a lightness took over my body, and I knew the miracle was already on its way. The vortex is where the universe finds space to act. There is no rush, no struggle. There is only a vibration that says, "I am ready to receive." I don't chase miracles. I become the place where they land. Eva realized that the vortex was not just a spiritual metaphor, but a living mechanic of the universe. There is an energetic field that responds to every emotion, to every thought emitted with true intention. This field understands neither haste nor despair, but vibrates instantly in the language of tranquil faith. When she understood this, she stopped asking and started aligning, because the vortex doesn't respond to request, it responds to tuning. It's not about how much you want, it's about how much you allow, and what you allow is determined by what you vibrate. The vortex is like a spiritual magnet. It doesn't seek, it attracts. And everything that is yours by vibrational right is already spinning around you, waiting for coherence. Eve realized she didn't need to force the universe, just remove the internal noise that separated her from the flow. This noise has many names: doubt, haste, guilt, comparison. But in essence, it is always resistance. And when she started cleaning up that noise, the mechanism started operating on its own. The invisible began to work silently in his favor. She called this state creative silence. It was not the silence of absence, but the silence of trust. The silence that says, "I've done my part, now the universe does its part." It was in this silence that ideas arrived, people called, paths opened, as if the vibrational field was finally allowed to act. Because faith is not noisy, it is precise, and the vortex is activated by this silent precision. The receiving mechanism works like an energetic mirror. Everything you feel, it reflects. If you vibrate lack, the vortex amplifies the absence. If you vibrate gratitude, the vortex amplifies abundance. This is how Eve understood the power of a grateful heart in the midst of waiting, because gratitude is not the end of the process, it is the gateway that begins it. And every thank you she said in the middle of nowhere moved everything. There's something mysterious about the way the universe works when you surrender. There is no logic, but there is order. There is no rush, but there is divine precision. Eva said, "The vortex never lags, it synchronizes." And that's exactly it. The time of manifestation is the time of attunement. When the heart aligns, the clock of the universe begins to turn in your favor, and what seemed distant becomes inevitable. At that point, Eva realized that the greatest act of faith is serenity, because whoever believes, rests. He who rests, receives. And whoever receives it, shows evidence of trust. The vortex is the field where faith materializes into form. It is not activated by effort, but by vibrational conviction. And this conviction is born from a heart that you have already decided to trust before seeing. So take a deep breath and declare to her, "The vortex works for me while I rest in the flow." Feel the energy of this surrender in your body now. There is nothing to prove, only to allow. The universe hasn't forgotten you. It's aligning with your new vibration. Let go, allow, trust. And the vortex will take charge of moving the invisible in your favor. Eva understood that the vortex is not accessed with force, but with attunement. And the key to this harmony is permission. Allowing is letting life do what it already wants to do for you, but the ego tries to control, measure, accelerate. And every time the ego tries to resolve, it blocks the flow that the spirit has already opened. That's when Eva realized, it's not about forcing doors open, it's about stopping holding the doorknobs. The vortex flows where there is space, and permission creates space. Allowing is accepting good without justifying why you deserve it. It's simply saying, yes, I receive it. It seems simple, but for those who have lived in struggle for years, acceptance is the most revolutionary act. Eve found herself faced with this revelation when she realized how much she still resisted being blessed, because the unconscious, accustomed to scarcity, finds the lightness of abundance strange. But when she said yes, without fear, the frequency changed instantly, and the vortex responded as a loving echo of the universe. The frequency of permission is the vibration of absolute trust. It's when you stop doubting whether you're worthy and just vibrate like someone who already has it. Permission needs no proof. It is the evidence itself. Eva began to practice this state in small things: a hot coffee, an unexpected smile, a moment of peace. Each gesture of gratitude was a vibrational reminder that she was already receiving. And the more she recognized, the more the universe multiplied, because the vortex responds to consciousness, not lack. The human mind tends to think that allowing is passivity, but in truth, it is the most active state of faith. Allowing is acting with confidence, not fear. It is the energy that says, I know it is already done, and I act on that knowledge. Eva described this as walking in the future with the feet of the now, and that's exactly what permission does. It places you vibrationally where the miracle has already happened. When you vibrate from the result recognizes you. The frequency of permission is light, silent, and magnetic. It doesn't seek, it attracts. It does not demand, it manifests. It is the point where wanting turns into certainty. And it was at this point that Eva began to experience what she called divine coincidences. But she knew these weren't coincidences. They were vibrational responses. Each inner permission released an outer synchronicity. There is a spiritual secret here. You don't get what you want, you get what you allow. Wanting activates desire, but permission activates manifestation. When Eve released desire and embraced permission, everything began to flow naturally. She understood that the vortex does not create the new. It just connects you to what is already yours on another frequency. And this understanding freed his mind from constant effort, because permission is the rest of the soul that trusts, and the soul that rests attracts everything that already belongs to it. Now take a deep breath and declare with me, I allow good to find me. Repeat this phrase until you feel your body relax. Feel the weight lift and the flow begin to circulate. You don't need to chase it. The vortex is spinning around you, ready to align you. The secret is not to make it happen. It is to allow it to happen. And the frequency of permission is the language of miracles. Eve realized that the universe speaks in silence, and that the noise of the mind is the only noise that prevents divine listening. She always believed she needed to speak more, ask more, pray more, until she understood that sometimes the greatest act of faith is to remain silent, because silence is not absence, it is presence. It is in silence that the vortex whispers directions, inspires actions, and reveals paths. And it was the moment she stopped the internal noise that the energy began to reorganize itself. Silence has become the language of manifestation. Eva's silence was not empty. It was filled with calm expectation. It was the space between desire and materialization. In this space, she learned to hear the movement of the invisible, and each intuition that arose felt like a light leaf being moved by the right wind. Nothing was forced anymore. Everything was fluid. She understood that silence is the point where the soul aligns with the creative pulse of the universe. And there, everything that is true begins to be born. There is a moment when the seeker becomes a listener. Eve entered this moment when she gave up trying her faith and began to experience it. She discovered that silence was the altar of trust. And the quieter the mind, the louder the spirit expresses itself. That was how she first heard the sound of the vortex, an inner vibration of certainty and peace. This sound does not come from outside. It resonates within, and whoever learns to listen to him will never doubt again. Silence manifests because there is surrender in it. When you no longer try to control the outcome, the universe finds room to act. It's as if the vibrational field says, "Now I can work." Eva noticed that after deep moments of stillness, the answers came naturally. An insight, a connection, a sign, an invitation. The vortex responds to those who cease the noise and become receptive, because in the realm of vibration, whoever listens first manifests first. Silence is also proof of spiritual maturity. It means you trust the process so much that you no longer need guarantees. It is the active rest of faith, the knowing, without needing to see. Eva described this as the spiritual warrior's rest. It's not giving up, it's wise surrender. It's when you understand that the universe is your ally, not your opponent. And silence is the invisible pact of this alliance. It was in this state of stillness that Eve began to perceive the rhythm of the vortex within her. It was as if his heartbeat was synchronized with the field. She woke up feeling light and slept peacefully, even without knowing how everything would work out. Because it was no longer a question of with, but of when. And in the silence, the when always finds the perfect moment. The vortex does not miss the time. It manifests in the rhythm of harmony, and harmony is the sound of the miracle in motion. Now breathe silently for a few seconds. Feel the peace that arises in the space between one thought and another. This space is the vortex finding you. Repeat mentally, "In my silence, the universe works for me. There is nothing left to do, just be." And being is the most powerful verb in creation, because in the silence of being, the impossible finds passage. Eva discovered something powerful. The body feels the vortex before the mind understands. It vibrates, shivers, pulses, heats up, as if announcing that the field is active. At first, she thought they were just passing sensations, but she soon realized it was vibrational tuning. The body is the first to translate the invisible. When you come into alignment with the vortex, every cell begins to respond to the frequency of allowance, and the body, instead of resisting, begins to flow, because it is the antenna that captures the vibration of abundance. The body holds memories of resistance, of scarcity, of fear. These memories vibrate as low frequencies, disrupting the natural flow of the vortex. Eva realized that every tension in her body was a way of holding control. The rigid shoulder, the closed chest, the tight stomach. All of this was physical resistance to permission. She began practicing conscious breathing, allowing the air to carry away what fear had accumulated. And with each breath, the body became lighter, more available. It was as if the vortex could finally circulate freely within her. The body, when relaxed, is a vibrational portal. It's not just a biological structure, it's an energy translator. Eva learned to listen to her own body as if she were listening to the universe. When something got stuck, she didn't fight it. She asked, "What am I resisting feeling?" And the answer always came in the form of consciousness, a memory, an emotion, a belief. By releasing the emotion, the energy began to flow again, and the body, cleansed of tension, became a pure channel of manifestation. The vortex communicates through sensations. Sometimes it's a warmth in the chest, a shiver down the arm, a sudden lightness in the breath. These signals are the body saying, "I'm in tune." Eve began to use these signs as a spiritual compass. When her body expanded, she knew she was in the flow. When she contracted, she knew something inside her was crying out for release. And so, the body became the map of the vibrational journey. There is something deeply sacred about inhabiting one's own body with awareness, because every cell carries the memory of the Creator. The vortex does not act outside of you. It acts through of you, and the body is the altar where the divine manifests itself in the physical. Eve realized that by caring for her body, she was honoring the vehicle of creation. Sleeping, eating with presence, moving with love, all of this became living prayer, and prosperity began to flow naturally, as a reflection of a body at peace. The body at peace is the body that manifests with precision, because the vibration does not encounter blockages, it simply circulates. Eve said, "My body is the instrument of my faith," and it was true. When the body was in harmony, the surrounding field responded in sync. She became a vibrational beacon, attracting what was in resonance. The miracle ceased to be a mystery and became a consequence, because a body in flux is living proof of a soul in alignment. Now close your eyes for a moment and feel your body. Notice if there is any tense part, and tell it. You can relax, the miracle is on the way. Breathe and feel the flow reorganizing within you. This is the intelligence of the vortex acting on the physical. The body speaks, the body vibrates, the body manifests. And when the body and soul breathe in the same rhythm, the universe responds in the same melody. The day came when Eve understood. It wasn't the universe that was taking its time. It was she who was still holding on. She was still trying to direct the invisible, define the time, measure the result. But surrender is not giving up. It is giving control back to the creator of the flow. It was in the face of her own exhaustion that she whispered, "I don't know what to do anymore." And in that instant, the sky answered, "Finally," because the vortex does not open to those who insist on command, but to those who decide to trust. Surrender is the code that activates the impossible. Surrender is a vibrational act. It doesn't happen with tears of defeat, but with sighs of confidence. Eve knelt, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. She understood that the most powerful point is total surrender. It's when "I want" turns into "my greatest will be done." And in that vibration, everything realigns. The universe only needs a surrendered heart to rearrange destiny. There is a sacred mystery in surrender. It reverses human logic. What feels like loss becomes liberation. What feels like emptiness becomes a portal. Eva said, "Surrender is opening your hands to receive what control could never hold." And that's exactly what happened. The instant she let go, things started moving. Phone calls, ideas, reconnections. It all started. When Eve let go, the universe breathed along with her. The vortex was not far away. It was always waiting for the moment of trust. Synchronicities began to align like notes of an ancient melody. Messages arrived at the exact time. People reappeared with clear purposes. Nothing was coincidence. Everything was vibrational correspondence. What once seemed like a blockage was just resistance. And now, with an open heart, the flow could finally find its way. Eva realized that the vortex does not respond to requests, but to frequencies. It's not about wanting it badly, but about vibrating right. Wanting imprisons, vibrating liberates. She began to observe. When it was light, the doors opened effortlessly. When he doubted, everything stopped, as if the universe was waiting for him to return to its axis. The demonstration was not a prize, but a mirror, and vibration was the brush with which she painted her reality. The magic began to manifest itself in subtle details. An unexpected invitation, a solution that appeared at exactly the right moment. Eva smiled because she understood. I didn't need to run after it. I needed to align myself. The vortex is a frequency of allowing, not insisting. And in this awareness, time ceased to be an enemy. The now has become a fertile field of possibilities. Everything she desired was already vibrating there, just waiting for her inner yes. But then something new started to happen. The answers stopped being signals and became matter. A job proposal aligned with your purpose came out of nowhere. An unexpected amount came into your account effortlessly. The vortex began to translate energy into form. It was as if the universe said, "Now you get it. Receiving is not doing. It is allowing." And Eve wept, not in astonishment but in recognition. She had returned to the rhythm of creation. The days that followed were filled with small confirmations. A message that said exactly what she had just thought. A song that played in the street with the words she had written in prayer. The vortex spoke in symbolic language, and Eve learned to listen. She no longer doubted, she just watched and gave thanks. Each synchronicity was a yes from the universe, and the more she trusted, the more the field responded generously. There were days when fear still tried to return, whispering old stories, but Eve learned to respond calmly. I choose to trust. This phrase became your daily decree, your vibrational password. With each repetition, his field stabilized, and the energy flowed more freely. She understood that fear was not the enemy. It was just a frequency asking for love, and by embracing fear, she transmuted it into faith. This way, the flow remained constant, even during pauses. The vortex does not create through effort. It creates through coherence. Eva realized that it wasn't enough to think positively. She had to feel congruent. The heart and the mind needed to dance to the same tune. When she felt gratitude in advance, the universe responded with an echo. And the more she gave thanks, the more the flow multiplied. Gratitude has become your base vibration. The vortex loves the energy of gratitude because it says, "I already received it." Eva began to teach others what she had learned, that the vortex is not a technique, it is a state of being. She said, "You don't enter the vortex, you remember that you're already in it." This remembrance is the gateway to abundance. When you relax, the universe finds you again. When you trust, the miracle finds you. And when you align, life becomes a divine choreography. Close your eyes now and repeat with her, "I trust, I allow, I receive." Feel this phrase vibrate in every cell of your body. Imagine yourself inside a golden field of fluid energy. This is the signature of the vortex, the point where effort dissolves and grace takes over. Remain in this state for a few moments. The miracle is already on its way, because you are back in the flow. The language of miracle. That's when Eva realized the vortex had a voice. Not an audible voice, but a frequency that translated into coincidences, sensations, and intuitions. The miracle began to communicate with her through the details. A phrase on a billboard, a conversation overheard, a vivid dream before waking up. It all looked like code, and she understood. The universe speaks in symbols. There is no chance in the field of consciousness. There are disguised conversations, and whoever learns to read the signs will never feel lost again. Eva began to live in a state of listening. Before acting, she would ask, "What does the vortex want to show me now?" And the answers came with the gentleness of the wind. Sometimes it was a sensation in the body, other times a sudden memory. The vortex doesn't scream, it whispers, and the more inner silence, the clearer the message became. She understood that the vortex speaks the same language as presence, the now. One day, Eve dreamed of a golden flame in the center of her chest. When he woke, he felt warmth and peace at the same time, and knew that the dream was not a dream, it was instruction. The vortex was teaching her to interpret energy as a living language. Each emotion was a vibrational word, each intuition, a divine phrase. The miracle was not just an event, it was an ongoing conversation. And the body, once again, was the translator of the invisible. She understood that the vortex doesn't deliver what you want. It responds to what you emanate. If the field is vibrating scarcity, it returns experiences of lack. If you are vibrating with confidence, it will bring you back to paths and encounters. The language of the miracle is neutral. It is the vibration that sets the tone. Eva began to consciously choose her inner words. It turned, "What if it doesn't work out?" into, "What if everything is already flowing?" And the universe responded with a silent smile. It was indeed. Over time, Eva realized that she could engage in dialogue with the countryside. She began asking for signs gently, not desperately. "If I'm on the right path, show me a yellow butterfly today," she said. And almost always, the sign appeared in surprising ways. In a drawing, on clothing, in a window. It wasn't superstition, it was harmony. Vortex likes to play with the lightness of those who believe, and the miracle always manifests itself where there is room for enchantment. There was a day when the vortex spoke louder. She was about to accept a project that seemed promising, but her body gave out. The air grew thick, my chest tightened, and an inner voice whispered, "This is not for now." Eve obeyed. Days later, an even more aligned proposal emerged, with purpose and expansion. The vortex had saved its energy for something greater. She understood that saying no is also the language of miracles. Since then, Eva has lived between worlds, the visible and the vibrational. She doesn't force, she doesn't run, she doesn't doubt. Just ask, feel, and trust. The vortex speaks, and she responds with presence, because the miracle does not happen from the outside in. It is born from the communication between the divine and the conscious. And when that conversation stabilizes, Life becomes a prophecy in motion. Every step is guided. Every sign is direction. Close your eyes and say with her, "I understand the language of miracles. The universe speaks to me all the time." Feel this phrase expand within your field. The next few hours will be full of little signs. Note, they are answers. The vortex is already talking to you. And when you listen, you don't wait. You walk in the rhythm of revelation. Because the miracle does not come, the miracle responds. And now, the universe is listening to you. There was a time when Eve thought that faith was persistence. Today she knows, faith is remaining in vibration, even when nothing seems to happen. It is the state in which the heart remains open while the scenery is still dark. Living faith is not nourished by evidence but by conviction. She doesn't need to understand the process to continue believing. And it is precisely at this point of quiet confidence that the vortex gains strength. Because faith is the fuel of creation. Eve learned to recognize when her faith was vibrating and when she was just waiting. Waiting brings tension, faith brings peace. Waiting focuses on absence. Faith focuses on the presence of what already is. And the vortex only responds to the vibration of completeness. So when she caught herself doubting, she didn't condemn herself. She just breathed again. Every breath was a reminder, I'm already in the flow. And that simple act restored the field, realigning it to the rhythm of trust. Living faith is a state of coherence between the heart and the invisible. Eva began to notice that her most prosperous days were those when she didn't think about prospering, just about serving, expanding, and giving thanks. In those days, everything flowed. The vortex responded with abundance because she vibrated generosity. She understood that faith is not asking to receive, it is trusting to the point of overflowing. And when the heart overflows, the universe returns multiplied. This is the divine mathematics of the vortex. But there was a moment when the silence lasted longer than expected. No signal, no response, no confirmation. And it was there, in that apparent emptiness, that Eve had her greatest initiation. Because the vortex tests the constancy of vibration before expanding it. In the silence, she discovered that the miracle had not ceased. It was simply reconfiguring itself. It was the interval between the old saying goodbye and the new being formed. And the only audible sound in that space was that of faith itself vibrating. During her absence, Eva began to cultivate presence. Instead of asking, "Why haven't you come yet?" she would say, "What's being lined up?" This simple shift shifted your vibration from lack to creation. She understood that the vortex never fails. It just calibrates. The delay was adjustment, not denial. And each time I chose to trust, the frequency of faith became more stable. Constancy became his daily altar. Living faith is when the heart does not need proof because it already vibrates with certainty. Eva began to state, "Even if I don't see it, I've already vibrated, and the universe has already heard it." This phrase became his energetic anchor. She learned that true power is not in asking, but in giving. Sustain light when everything seems dark. Sustaining peace when everything seems chaos. Sustaining love when fear wants to speak louder. And that's exactly when the invisible moved again. The signals returned, the doors opened, and synchronicity was reborn. Eva understood that the vortex had never left her. She was the one learning to stay. Living faith is not emotion. It is stable vibration. And whoever learns to remain dominates the field of manifestation. Because the universe doesn't reward effort, it rewards frequency. And faith is the highest frequency there is. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the vibration of certainty within your chest. It is gentle but constant, like a flame that never goes out. Repeat with her, "My faith is alive. I remain. I vibrate what already is." Feel your body warm, your field expand, and the air around you align. This is the sound of the vortex responding to your constancy. Living faith is the pulse of God within you, and when it vibrates, nothing can remain still. Eva discovered that there is a difference between giving up and surrendering. Giving up is tiredness, surrendering is wisdom. Giving up says, "I can't do it anymore." Surrendering says, "I trust in the right time." And that was one of the most subtle lessons of the vortex, the power of conscious letting go. Because what is truly yours does not require struggle, it requires harmony. Control, she realized, was just fear disguised as responsibility. And surrender, when born of faith, becomes the portal to the miracle. Conscious surrender is not passivity. It is divine cooperation. It is the point at which human action joins the movement of the invisible. Eva continued planting, but without any anxiety about harvesting. He did his part, and then took a deep breath, saying, "Now the vortex continues for me." This phrase became his form of prayer. She didn't let go out of abandonment, but out of vibrational intelligence. And each time he let go, something new was born, effortlessly, but with precision. One day, the vortex led her to revisit old dreams she had forgotten, plans saved, desires postponed, talents shelved. She realized that many of them hadn't died. They were just waiting for space to be reborn. The control had choked off the flow, but when he let go, the universe breathed life into what was dormant. And suddenly, paths opened up where before there was only doubt. The surrender had activated the rebirth. Eva understood that the vortex doesn't reward haste, it rewards presence. Surrender is the art of remaining in the now, while the universe organizes the after. She learned to trust the gaps, those moments when nothing seems to move. The vortex works best when the mind is still. And it was in this fertile silence that she heard the phrase that would change everything. "When you let go, I can act." It was the voice of the divine speaking across the field. Over time, delivery became second nature to him. She began to walk lightly, without the urgency to define her destination. Everything became simpler, smoother, more natural. Decisions came from intuition, not analysis. The answers by synchrony, not by search. The vortex flowed freely through her, and Eve understood that true spiritual power is not control, it is cooperation. But surrender did not mean absence of movement. It was acting with inspiration, not obligation. Do what the moment demands, and leave the rest to the Creator. This practice brought peace where there was previously tension. She said, "I plant, the vortex blooms." And that phrase summed up his entire journey, a mature, active, but detached faith. The miracle wasn't the result. It was the clear conscience in the process. Conscious surrender is the highest form of faith, because those who truly deliver have already understood that nothing is lost in the field of trust. Eva began to see each delay as realignment, and each no as vibrational protection. Everything began to flow in a sacred rhythm. Her times and the universe's times finally became one, and the vortex responded fully. She no longer waited for the miracle. She lived it, every day. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Feel the air come in like a prayer and go out like a relief. Repeat with her, "I surrender, and the universe guides me." This phrase is the key to spiritual lightness. When spoken with truth, the field opens, the heart expands, and grace takes over. Now the vortex is operating silently in your favor, and in perfect time, the invisible will become visible. Eva woke up one day and realized that something had changed. It wasn't the world around her, it was the field within her. The anxiety had dissolved. Time no longer weighed on us. The future was no longer a weight. There was a light, almost luminous silence, inhabiting the space between one thought and another. And it was in that silence that she realized, I have entered the state of receiving. There was no effort, no expectation, just permission. The vortex, and she now breathed the same air. Receiving, she understood, is not an act. It is a vibrational state. It's not about opening your hands, but about opening your heart. Because the universe doesn't deliver things, it delivers reflections. And when the heart is full, the reflection is abundance. Eve no longer asked for more. She emanated. Every gesture, word, and thought were seeds in a fertile field, and everything she needed arrived in perfect time, with divine naturalness. The state of receiving is the point where doing dissolves. Eve realized that creation happens on its own, when the vibration is pure. The vortex moves through those who trust, not those who force. Now, she walked slowly, but with direction. The right people found her. Resources flowed. Ideas came clearly. She had become a channel, not a hunter. And the universe responded to his peace with multiplication. One night, as she watched the sky, Eve felt a gentle warmth in her chest. It was the same sign as when it all began. But now it wasn't a call. It was confirmation. The cycle was complete. Body, mind, and spirit vibrated in unison. She understood that the vortex is not a destination. It is a frequency of remembrance, a reminder that everything we seek is already available, waiting for our permission. And smiling, she just said, "I receive what is already mine by vibration." From that day on, Eva began to teach the state of receiving as a way of life. She said, "There is no way to seek what is already within you. The vortex is the reminder that we are the source itself manifesting form. To receive is to recognize, to be grateful, and to continue flowing. Abundance is not conquest, it is nature. And grace, when understood, repeats itself with its own rhythm." Eve became a living example of what it means to live in vibrant faith. The state of receiving doesn't eliminate challenges. It transforms them into portals. When something seemed out of control, Eva would smile and say, "Everything is rearranging itself for my good." That simple phrase kept the field clean. Nothing was interpreted as an obstacle anymore, but as a movement of divine intelligence. She understood that the flow is not linear, it is spiral. It goes up in circles, but always moves forward, and each turn brought more clarity, more expansion, more miracles. Life had become living prayer. Now, Eva lives in a state of silent gratitude, not for having received something, but for having become the channel of receiving it. She walks lightly, speaks with presence, and vibrates with intention. Everything she touches blossoms, because her energy is pure permission. The vortex and she are one field of consciousness, and with every breath, the universe whispers, "To be continued, there's more." The state of receiving is infinite, because the love that sustains it never ceases. Close your eyes and feel what Eve felt. Take a deep breath and say with her, "I am in the state of receiving. Everything that is mine by frequency is already on its way." Remain in this vibrant silence. Feel the field around you expanding, responding, realigning. The vortex now pulses within you, and the miracle has already begun. The vortex wasn't about Eve. It was about all of us, about the moment we stopped asking and started allowing. The universe doesn't play favorites. It responds to frequencies. And every time you choose to trust, something in the unseen realigns in your favor. The miracle isn't just around the corner. It's waiting for you to vibrate on the same note. The question is not, when will it happen? But, when will I allow myself to feel like it's already happened? This is the secret of flow. It doesn't come from outside. It's born from your inner yes. Today, as you read these words, the vortex already surrounds you. Every breath is a reminder that abundance was never far away, just dormant. And now, at this very moment, it awakens within you. The state of receiving is the point where faith finds form. It is the sacred space between what we dream and what we live. And when you relax into the flow, the Creator takes over. What seemed impossible is organized in the perfect time of grace. Close your eyes and feel. The field is alive, listening to you, responding to you. The vibration you hold now is the seed of what will blossom in the coming days. Don't fight time, dance with it. Don't doubt the process, bless it. Because the vortex doesn't need to be understood, it needs to be experienced. And the moment to experience is always now. Take a deep breath and receive. Say it with me, with vibrant faith. I am ready. I trust. I receive. This is the vortex password. This is the vibration of prosperity with purpose. And if this message resonated with you, comment on your lips and in your heart. I go with the flow, for it is in the simple act of declaring that the field lights up, and the vortex, the same one that guided Eve, now begins to move within you.